Valve's latest IP, Deadlock, recently got a major patch that changes a lot of things, and we're going to discuss that now. If you're not familiar with Deadlock, as I believe there's probably going to be a lot of new interest into the game, well, it's basically a MOBA third-person shooter that's been created by Valve, and I'm Deathy, a content creator that's been making mostly educational content. Now, this is the first update that we have on the actual website of playdeadlock.com, which might not seem like a big deal at first, but to me, this indicates that this is the direction in which they're going to be going with kind of these cool graphics, these big patches. And this really feels kind of like a patch that a more complete type of game would get. And so I think that we're getting closer and closer to open beta. Now, of course, we're still not quite there, but I believe 2026 could be the year. And if not, definitely 2027. On this video, I'm going to be covering the new things in the update, including the new game mode. There's 6 new heroes that have not come out yet, and also telling you what's kind of to come, what are my favorite things, what things maybe I don't like as much, and we can discuss that. I think it's a really, really fun update. I've been having a lot of fun, so let's get into it. Now, the first thing with the new heroes is the new heroes aren't coming out yet. So basically the way that it works, and I'm going to scroll down to kind of, the actual heroes, is the 6 new arrivals. So they show you kind of the splash art for each hero. And the way that it works is 2 heroes released per week, Mondays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. PST, so 5 p.m. EST if you're Eastern time zone. Basically, you vote for them, right? So for those of you that were familiar with the previous patch, every time you play a game, you earn a vote, and then you can vote for the hero that you want to be released. And so they're going to be releasing 2 heroes per week. I've seen a lot of misinformation about this, saying that they're releasing 2 heroes at a time. It's 1 hero per day, just 1 on Mondays and 1 on Thursdays. So in about 3 weeks, 3 weeks after January 26th, we should have all of the heroes released. And the first hero starts on January 26th, and you can get your votes in-game now. Now, if you're wondering where to vote, when you go in-game here, there's a little voting booth. It's got some beverages here, so you can get your napkins and you can get some of these cookies, the Crown Dansk butter cookies, which I believe are a real brand. And then you press E, and then you can vote on whichever one. As you can see, I've already got a bunch of votes, and we're going to give a couple more votes for hashtag Team Rem, so make sure to vote for Rem. Now, but seriously, vote for whoever you want, and you've got kind of the stickers that accumulate here, so that's really cool. Now, we've got an entirely new game mode called Street Brawl. Right. And this game mode is a new fast-paced game mode, which works a little bit like a rogue-like game, meaning you get kind of like item options, and there are some items that are rare. There's some items there's legendary items that are really cool. As we'll kind of like discuss a little bit later. It says drop a piano on someone's head. If you're lucky, an enhanced or legendary item might make an appearance, right? So we're seeing perhaps a little bit of an influence from, Hopo and Risk of Rain developers, kind of with a little bit more of a roguelike approach. So every kind of round, before the round, you get offered, I believe, 3 items, right? And then you have 1 reroll. And then you can choose between the 3 items. Sorry, you get 3 types, you get 3 offers. So you get to pick 3 items, but every time you get to pick an item, you have 3 options. So I'll be showing some footage on the screen so you guys can see what it looks like when I'm playing it. But this mode is super, super fun. So the way that it works is there's a maximum total of 5 rounds, okay? And basically the first rounds are you kill the Guardian, you win. Right. And the Guardian seems to have resistance when there's players around. So you can't just like cheese the Guardian. You kind of usually have to kill at least some of the players, right? Like you don't have to kill everyone, but if everyone's up, you're not going to get the Guardian. Now, once you get 2 rounds, so if you've won 2 rounds, or if you've lost 2 rounds, then there's no longer a Guardian on the side of the people that have lost twice. So once you've lost twice, you go to your Walker. Now, the Walker is obviously a lot stronger than the Guardian. And so if you've lost twice, it's kind of a little bit easier to come back because you're at the Walker, right? But at the same time, sometimes I've seen still 3-0s, but I've seen a lot of also reverse sweeps where you lose 2-0 and then you get some good items and all of a sudden, boom, you're back in the game. Now, there's a ton of really, really cool like legendaries or even enhanced items. And there's also the fact that you can queue this mode as a random hero. I mean, I think you can queue any mode as a random hero now. They just added the option. But I believe that this mode signals a couple things from the game. First of all, I think that it shows that Deadlock is not afraid to kind of experiment, create something that's a little new, and have a fresh take on something that already exists. Because this is essentially the equivalent of ARAM from League of Legends, for example, right? But it's a fresh take on it. It's done differently. It's done in a Deadlock fashion, and it's awesome. Now, it also shows to me that Deadlock is not afraid to experiment with other game modes, right? What that means is that perhaps in the future, we'll have even more game modes. Why stop at Street Brawl? Like, Street Brawl is great, but why stop there? I don't see a reason to stop there, right? And so I think it's very, very likely that we'll see more game modes in the future. Now, I'm not saying in a month, I'm not saying in a year even. I just think that this is kind of like a step in that direction of showing that they are willing to experiment with game modes. Now, I played about 6 hours of Street Brawl today, and I gotta say, it's a lot of fun. Now, I would not recommend that you try to optimize it too much, and so I'm not gonna create any educational content on Street Brawl or anything or any advice. I think you guys should just kind of learn it by yourselves because that's part of the fun. And another thing I want to say is it's a great mode if some of you guys are struggling and want to learn a hero. I think it's a really, really wonderful tool. I coach a lot of people, and a lot of the time when I coach people, people are afraid to try new heroes or learn new things because they don't want to throw their games, they don't want to throw their rank, etc. In Street Brawl, matchmaking is based on your rank, but I don't believe it affects your rank, right? So you don't have to worry about throwing your rank or throwing your games, etc. Instead, you can just worry about learning kind of the mechanics of the hero. Now, of course, it doesn't teach you how to play the macro of the hero, but if you just want to get familiar with kind of the combos, the buttons pressing, etc., like for example, a hero like Doorman or Mina, and you just want to press your buttons, well, Street Brawl is a perfect mode to do that in. Now, next subject in the patch is we've got base reworks. Right? So I don't think many people are surprised by this, but if you haven't been keeping up with the game, basically the bases used to be really bland, and now they're crazy. So we have the Hidden King, which was basically Amber, basically, before. It was called Amber Hand before. As you can see, this looks crazy. And I'll probably show some in-game footage of pushing either base. I don't know if I have footage of me pushing both bases, to be honest, because I mostly played Street Ball today. But when you push the bases, not only do they look way different visually, but also the mechanics themselves are way different, right? Like the patron has like a transform phase. And on top of that, not only does the patron have a transform phase, but like the patron has an AoE attack that curses people. The shrines have an AoE attack that I believe also curse people. So the base now kind of defends a little bit more than it used to. So I think that's a really cool change. We've also got troopers that have been kind of visually reworked. So they're fairly different to how they used to be. I've heard some complaints about clarity, etc. So if you have any complaints about any of the redesigns, put them in the comments. The developers for sure keep up with the community and stuff. So if you have any specific complaints, put them in the comments. Maybe they can see that and it can help. If you like something, if you don't like something, go for it. And now as far as the 6 heroes, well, they're all pretty cool looking, at least, right? We've got Graves, Apollo, Silver, Rem, Venator, and Celeste. Now, we don't really know a ton about these heroes. Now, there's been some information that's been leaked. Now, my channel generally doesn't cover leaks because leaks are not necessarily a reliable source of information. And there's plenty of other channels that cover leaks, so I usually stay away from that. But if you Google it, if you look into it, you can find leaks of what these characters' kits potentially are, right? As a general rule of thumb, I mean, you know, we know that Silver is clearly going to be a character that transforms, right? Like she's got 2 forms, transformation. As far as Rem, we know he's got something to do with sleep, and we know he's small, so we know he's going to be able to fit into the new area into the game, which I'll try to put some footage here, but there's a new area in the game, which is the tunnels, and there's tunnels that are accessible only to small heroes. Right now, literally only Calico can access it, but in the future, I mean, it's pretty likely that Rem will be able to get into there. Graves is kind of like a necromancer type hero. Now, does Graves like summon units from dead people? Does she have like a undying type ability where she's like, she might have like area denial, right? So maybe she has a tombstone of some sorts. I mean, it kind of looks like that on the art. Apollo here is mobility type hero, it looks like. So I'm going to guess he's going to be like kind of the high skill ceiling type. And then you've got Celeste. Now, Celeste, it's kind of unclear a little bit, but disruptive, performer, dazzling, we'll have to see. And then Venator, I think this one is very, very clear. It's going to be a priest-based, kind of like gun-type character, at least from the looks of it, arms expert, etc. So that's about as much as we can confidently say. Now, as far as their exact kits, their exact abilities, we don't know. And so your votes are mostly based on who you think is going to be fun or cool to play. Now, we've also got a bunch of UI changes. I'm not going to get into all the UI changes, but I just want to say that they're all pretty good in my opinion. And the scoreboard looks way different. There's so many things. You've got these kind of like these bars that show channeling times really well. For example, for abilities that are kind of stylized, you've got the sad portraits, as we can see with the Vindicta here, and all these things, objective health bar, and updated scoreboard. I mean, you've got so many things in this patch, right? So much quality of life, as well as like the entire settings is completely different. And there's a bunch of stuff that's different on the map. Right, so a ton of areas that have been updated. Of course, patch notes are going to be in the description as always. And on top of that, we haven't even gotten to it because there's so much to discuss, but there's also 2 new items, Ballistic Enchantment and Recharging Rush. Now, I'll talk about these items a little bit. I'm going to go in-game so we can look at them. So we've got Recharging Rush. Now, let me go on a hero that could actually use it, like, I don't know, Furnace or something, so that's not grayed out. So Recharging Rush and Ballistic Enchantment. Now, Recharging Rush basically recharges one of your charged abilities. Actually, each of your charged abilities. So interestingly enough, I guess if on Infernus, I'm missing a charge from both Flame Dash and Napalm, it would recharge both. So that seems like it has definitely potential for Infernus there. But you need to deal 200 weapon damage in a 3.5 second time frame in order to get that. And you can only get that once every 20 seconds. And then it gives you 20% max ammo and 10% weapon damage. Now, this seems pretty strong for heroes that can use it, but we'll see kind of what its place in the meta is. Now, Ballistic Enchantment is very interesting because it gives 30% ability range, but imbued on an ability. But 30% range is crazy, right? I want you guys to realize that Greater Expansion is 35% ability range. And now, when you combine Ballistic Enchantment with Greater Expansion, you can reach crazy amounts of range. For example, let's say you're playing Warden, and you want to play Ult Warden, and you put a Ballistic Enchantment, and you have Greater Expansion, or even just Mystic Expansion on your ult, right? All of a sudden, your ult is going to be, I mean, like, my ult is massive. And you can see the stylized channeling thing here, so that's pretty cool. So I think that the range part of it, a lot of people might be underestimating at first. Like, the ability range you get on this is no joke at all. And I think that there's going to be a ton of creative options you're going to be able to do with this. My first thought is, like, Geist is going to love this item, right, on her grenade. But I think the community is going to be able to cook a bunch of new builds with this. So always fun to get new items. So that's really cool. And, you know, let me know what builds you guys are thinking about in the chat, in the comments, and then maybe I'll try some of them. So let me know what you're thinking could be done with Ballistic Enchantment, on which hero you think it's good, and maybe I'll look at some of them. Now, we've got a ton of other kind of quality of life changes or miscellaneous changes, etc. But the last thing I want to talk about is there was no balance change. So a lot of people have kind of like been like, oh, where's the balance patch notes? Or, hey, does anyone have a link to like the patch notes, the balance changes, etc.? There's no balance changes. And to me, that's pretty normal. At the end of the day, they're focused on just delivering content, and they're going to be releasing 6 new heroes over the course of the next 3 weeks, which is going to change a ton about the game. On top of that, the base defenses got completely changed. They added tunnels in the map that only one hero can access, right? Like, a ton of things about the actual game have been changed. And so I don't really think we need a big balance update right now. And they're more focused on just making sure the content is ready, making sure it's as polished as possible. And so that's where we're at right now. Now, if you're new to Deadlock and you watched this video, or if you're a returning player, I've got a lot of guides that are cooking, and I would like to say that my channel, in my opinion, is kind of the place to be if you want to improve at Deadlock, if you kind of want to know what's going on, and if you want to make the game a little bit more enjoyable and kind of make it a little less overwhelming, right? Because one thing that they have not revamped is the Learn to Play section. And if you click on some of these, it's completely outdated, as you can see here, right? And for now, until they update the Learn to Play, well, some people have got to pick up the slack, and I'm hoping to be one of those people. So, you know, subscribe, stick around the channel if you'd like to see stuff like that. And thank you guys for watching. That about covers my quick little patch overview. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day.